My phone buzzed during a deposition. The family group chat, the one I'd muted 6 months ago but never left, had exploded with celebration emojis. My brother Derek had posted a photo of himself holding champagne in front of my Georgetown townhouse. Final walkthrough complete. Closing tomorrow. Thanks Mom and Dad for believing in my vision. I excused myself from the conference room. My hands didn't shake as I scrolled through 43 messages. Derek explaining how the $1.5 million would fund his tech startup. Mom gushing about his entrepreneurial spirit. Dad saying this was exactly what the property was meant for. My sister asking if they'd save her a bedroom in Derek's future mansion. Not one person had asked me. The townhouse was mine. Purchased in 2019 with my signing bonus from Morrison & Clark. My name on the deed. My mortgage payments, religiously paid, never late. I'd given Derek a key 3 years ago when he needed a place to crash for a few weeks during his last failed venture. The few weeks became 18 months. I'd been too busy building my practice to notice he'd never left. I called my assistant. Clear my afternoon. Then I called the title company listed in Derek's screenshot of the settlement statement. A cheerful receptionist transferred me to the closing coordinator. Hi, I'm calling about the property closing tomorrow at 10 a.m. The Georgetown townhouse. Oh yes. Her voice brightened. Everything's on track. Buyer's funds are in escrow, sellers signed all documents. Just the final signatures tomorrow. Perfect, I said calmly. What's the name of the closing attorney? That would be Margaret Chin from Chin and Associates. My chest tightened. Margaret Chin. We'd served on the Young Lawyers Division together for 2 years. She'd attended my swearing-in ceremony. Thank you, I said and hung up. I didn't call Margaret immediately. First, I needed to see exactly what Derek had done. The county recorder's office website showed the documents filed yesterday. A fraudulent deed transferring the property from Derek Michael Peterson's sole owner to the buyers. My name appeared nowhere. The notary signature looked legitimate. Probably one of his startup friends who'd gotten their commission online. I pulled my own deed from my files. Compared the legal descriptions. My property. My investment. My home that I'd barely lived in because 70-hour work weeks meant I usually crashed at the firm's executive apartments downtown. That's when I understood. Derek thought I didn't care about the townhouse because I was never there. He'd assumed my absence meant indifference. He'd mistaken my trust for stupidity. I opened a new document on my laptop and titled it, The Ghost Ledger, Emotional Costs. Line item 1. Every Sunday dinner where Derek presented business plans, while I was dismissed as too busy with billable hours to understand entrepreneurship. Cost being treated like a bank, not a sister. Line item 2. The 3 times I'd canceled client meetings to help Derek move his startup equipment. Each time he'd said, you wouldn't understand the pressure of building something real. Cost. My time valued at 0. Line item 3. Thanksgiving 2023, when Derek gave a toast thanking Mom and Dad for raising a son who takes risks, while looking directly at me. Everyone laughed. Cost. Public humiliation, served with cranberry sauce. Line item 4. His birthday last May. I'd sent a $500 gift card. He texted back, this is nice but some of us need real capital. Cost. Every gift, every gesture quantified and found wanting. Line item 5. The Georgetown townhouse key I'd given him out of sisterly concern. He'd said, you're saving my life. I'd said, that's what family does. Cost. Trust weaponized. Line item 6. Every time Mom called to say, Derek's working so hard, maybe you could help with his rent? Never. How's your case going? Are you sleeping enough? Cost. Invisible labor, invisible person. I stared at the ledger. 6 items. 6 years of being treated like an ATM with a law degree. The gambler's fallacy, I thought. That's what I'd been doing. I kept feeding coins into the slot machine of family, convinced that the next pull, the next loan, the next favor, the next emergency rescue, would finally hit the jackpot of respect. Of being seen. But slot machines don't pay out because you've invested enough. They pay out randomly and sometimes never. I closed the document and called Margaret Chin. Margaret, it's Sarah Peterson. Sarah. God, it's been forever. How are you? I need to talk to you about a closing you're handling tomorrow. The Georgetown townhouse. There was a pause. Which property? I gave her the address. Another pause longer. Sarah, your last name is Peterson. Yes. The seller on this transaction is Derek Peterson. My brother. Who doesn't own the property? I do. I heard papers rustling, then keyboard clicking. Hold on. More clicking. Then, oh my God. Sarah, I'm looking at the state bar directory right now. You're listed at this address. That's my property, Margaret. My name is on the actual deed filed in 2019. Derek filed a fraudulent deed yesterday. Jesus Christ. Her voice had shifted completely. No longer friendly colleague, now attorney in crisis mode. Sarah, the buyer's funds are in escrow. We're supposed to close in 17 hours. I know. That's why I'm calling you instead of the police. Yet. I need to make some calls. Don't move. She hung up. 20 minutes later my phone rang. Margaret on speaker with two other voices I didn't recognize. Sarah, I have David Kim from the title insurance company and Robert Torres, managing partner at my firm. We've reviewed the documents. This is absolutely fraudulent conveyance. We're halting the closing immediately. David Kim spoke next. Ms. Peterson, we're flagging this transaction across all our systems. The buyer will be notified within the hour. We're also filing a report with the county recorder and the fraud division. Robert Torres, we're ethically obligated to report this to the state bar since it involves an attorney's property. However, Margaret tells me you'd prefer to handle this personally first. I would, I said. But I want everything documented. Every email, every filing, every communication. I want a paper trail that proves what he tried to do. You'll have it, Margaret promised. Sarah, I'm so sorry. If I'd seen your name before today. You weren't supposed to see it. That's why he committed fraud. We spent 40 minutes on that call. By the end I had written confirmation from the title company that the transaction was void. A formal notice of fraud filed with the county. Documentation that the buyer's funds would be returned. A timeline for removing Derek's fraudulent deed from public record. Margaret's personal commitment to assist with any legal action I chose to pursue. At 6:47 p.m. my phone exploded. Derek, what the fuck did you do? Mom, Sarah, the title company called Derek. There's been a terrible mistake. Dad, call your brother now. He's having a panic attack. My sister, this is so like you to sabotage him right before his big break. I poured a glass of wine, a 2015 Burgundy I'd been saving, and sat on my apartment balcony overlooking the Potomac. The September air was sharp and clean. I could hear the city humming below, indifferent to family drama, indifferent to betrayal, indifferent to everything except its own relentless forward motion. I wasn't punishing Derek. I was simply refusing to subsidize theft. My phone kept buzzing. I silenced it and opened my laptop. The procedural documentation took 3 hours. I created a folder titled Townhouse Fraud Evidence and organized everything chronologically. My original 2019 deed, notarized, recorded, legitimate. My mortgage statements, 72 consecutive payments, never late. Property tax receipts, all paid by me from my account. Derek's fraudulent deed filed yesterday. The settlement statement showing $1.5 million sale. Screenshots of the family group chat celebration. Margaret Chen's formal halt notice. Title company's fraud report. County recorder's investigation notice. I sent copies to my personal attorney, my firm's managing partner, and my own encrypted cloud storage. At 10:23 p.m. someone rang my apartment buzzer incessantly. Building security called up. Miss Peterson, there's a Derek Peterson here. Says he's your brother. Should I send him up? No. Tell him I'm not available. He's quite insistent. Tell him if he doesn't leave you'll call the police for trespassing. I heard arguing in the background, then the security guard. He's leaving. My phone immediately rang. Derek. I declined. He called again. Declined. 17 more times. Finally I answered. How could you do this to me? His voice cracked. Do you know what you've done? I had investors lined up. The whole startup depended on this capital. You just destroyed everything. I saved my property from being stolen, I said calmly. Those aren't the same thing. It's just a townhouse you never use. You sleep at the firm. You don't even care about it. I care about it enough to pay $4,200 every month for 6 years. That's $302,400, Derek. How much have you paid? Silence. That's what I thought, I continued. You lived there free for 18 months. I never asked for rent. I gave you a key because I trusted you. And you repaid me by committing fraud. I was going to pay you back. The startup would have. No. I don't want to hear about another startup. I want to hear you say, I tried to steal your house. It wasn't stealing, it was. Say it. More silence. I can't, he finally whispered. Then we have nothing else to discuss. I hung up and blocked his number. Mom called 30 seconds later. I let it go to voicemail. Then Dad. Then my sister. I blocked all of them and turned off my phone. The silence that followed felt different than any silence I'd known before. It wasn't empty. It was full of space. Space I'd been giving away for years. Room I'd cleared for other people's needs while contorting myself into smaller and smaller corners of my own life. The next morning I met with my attorney Richard Castellano, who'd handled my townhouse purchase. Sarah, you have multiple causes of action here. Fraud, forgery, attempted theft by deception. We could pursue criminal charges. What would that accomplish? Prison time, potentially. At minimum, a criminal record. I thought about it. Derek in an orange jumpsuit. Mom crying at a sentencing hearing. The family permanently destroyed, irrevocably shattered. No, I decided. I want the property secured. I want the fraudulent deed permanently removed from record. I want a restraining order preventing him from coming within 500 feet of the townhouse. And I want documentation that if he ever tries anything like this again, we prosecute immediately. That's incredibly gracious, Richard said. It's not grace. It's boundary setting. He doesn't get to steal from me, but I also don't want to spend the next 5 years in litigation. I want to move on. What about your family? What about them? Richard leaned back. They'll probably expect reconciliation eventually. Then they'll be disappointed. Over the next 6 weeks, the procedural consequences rolled out like clockwork. Week 1. Fraudulent deed removed from county records. Formal restraining order issued. Derek served papers at Mom and Dad's house where he'd fled. Week 2. Title insurance company completed their investigation. Their report used the word fraud 47 times. Derek's name flagged in their national database. Week 3. I changed all locks on the townhouse. Hired a property manager to find tenants. Listed it for $3,200 per month. Week 4. Found perfect tenants. A State Department couple with impeccable references. They moved in October 1st. First and last month's rent deposited immediately. Week 5. My firm's managing partner called me into his office. I heard about the situation with your brother. I'm sorry you went through that. He slid a folder across his desk. We'd like to discuss partnership track timeline. Week 6. The townhouse rental income started flowing. $3,200 per month covering my $4,200 mortgage, with me paying the $1,000 difference. But now I had tenants I'd chosen, a property I controlled, and a space that was finally, completely mine. The family group chat remained muted on my phone. 67 unread messages. I never opened it. Mom sent a letter to my office. Old-fashioned, handwritten. I read it once. Derek made a mistake, but family forgives. When are you going to stop being so stubborn? I didn't respond. Forgiveness without acknowledgement of harm isn't forgiveness. It's erasure. 3 months after the failed closing, I was having drinks with Margaret Chin at a rooftop bar in DuPont Circle. She'd become a real friend, not just a professional contact. You ever regret how you handled it? She asked. Which part? Not prosecuting. Letting him walk away. I watched the city lights flicker on as dusk settled. I didn't let him walk away. I let him carry the weight of what he tried to do. That's heavier than any sentence I could have imposed. Still, Margaret pressed, he tried to steal $1.5 million from you. No, I corrected. He tried to steal my foundation. The first property I ever owned. The proof that I built something real. That's worth more than money. I thought about the ghost ledger still saved on my laptop. All those itemized costs, those invisible wounds, those years of being unseen. But there was a new ledger now. An accounting of what I'd reclaimed. Asset 1. A townhouse worth $1.5 million, mine alone generating income. Asset 2. Boundaries that held even when everyone pressured me to drop them. Asset 3. Self-respect, recovered from the pawn shop where I'd traded it for family approval. Asset 4. The knowledge that I could stand alone and not crumble. Asset 5. Silence that felt like peace instead of punishment. The account Derek tried to drain? It's closed now. No more withdrawals permitted. No more unauthorized access. No more confusing my generosity with their entitlement. I'm not bitter. Bitterness is just hope rotting. I'm not hopeful either. Hope is what kept me feeding that slot machine. I'm simply free. Free to build a life where my value isn't measured by what I give away but by what I choose to keep. Free to be invisible to people who never really saw me anyway. Free to understand that family isn't who shares your blood. It's who respects your boundaries. Derek wanted to steal my house to build his empire. Instead, he proved exactly why I needed to build fortress walls. The Georgetown townhouse stands exactly where it always has. Same address, same deed, same foundation. The only thing that changed is who holds the keys. And this time I'm keeping them,